Welcome to the Innovators Unscripted podcast, the podcast for innovators by innovators. Today, Tina and I are super excited to welcome an amazing guest, Adam Juarez, who was from the Sydney cohort. And I want to give him a chance to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're coming from.
So yeah, thanks for having me again. My name is Adam Juarez. I am enjoying the 70-degree weather here in Central California. I know that's not the same for everybody across the country right now, so praying for you guys to deal with that. But yeah, I think it's now year 21 now as an educator. Taught U.S. and world history for middle school for about 10 years full time. I coached girls soccer before I got into the EdTech space when just one day, the school said, "Hey, we bought a bunch of Chromebooks because of online state testing. We need someone to kind of teach everyone how to do this stuff. You're pretty good at this already. Maybe you should become our new tech coach." And it's kind of ran with it. And that was about 10 years ago, and I've been running and gunning ever since.
That is awesome. So yeah, it seems like that's a common thread for innovators is this multiple hats, multiple identities, multiple skills that we all kind of have converging together in this ed tech space. So we like to start with like a little bit of an icebreaker around your browser tab confession. So we know that innovators are notorious multitaskers. So how many tabs do you have open on your browser, and what's the weirdest or most random one that you have now?
Gotta say, if I remember correctly, I have probably 7 or 8 different Chrome profiles. So there's 3 profiles that are always online, my work one, my business one, and my personal one. And my work one has 3 separate windows. So there's that. You're gonna have about, 5 or 6 within each one. I know some people who just keep it all in one, and that's just does not do well for me I have to bite my tongue when I work with those teachers. But have you ever heard of tab groups or profiles? It might help separate your data. But anyways, most random one I think I have open still is, oh yeah, I have an application that I'm working on. There's a local university here that has an opening for to be a part of an instructor pool for teacher ed. So I'm like, you know what? I could do that on the side. And so that's been sitting open for about a week and just having to remember to go back and finish it.
What's one more job? I mean, it seems
Yeah.
like just add on one more. But that is a common theme that we're seeing is while there are many tabs open, they seem to be all very organized into these different types of hats, jobs, and personalities that we have as innovators.
Oh yeah.
And hearing about that right now for the people who are looking at this application for this instructor pool. You know that Adam is like a really organized kind of guy. So check that box first off. Okay.
I've
So
been for
that's
a
box
while.
number one. So let's talk a little bit. This is our segment where we're going to talk about the Academy Rewind. So you are from Sydney 2017,
Mhm.
which was a ways back. I don't want to make it seem like it was a long ways back.
It
It was a
was.
ways back. So so with some distance now, right? Like
Yeah.
some distance between that. And it's probably structured a little bit different or a lot different than what it is now. What was that problem you thought you were trying to solve back then? And then what problem did you realize you're actually solving now?
So I'm gonna pivot just a little bit on that question because I remember what I when I was reflecting on that the other day. I remember when I went there, being in Australia with, I mean, I was only one of 9 Americans out of 36. The rest were all from that region or Southeast Asia, in that region of the world. And I remember the most common theme I saw for a lot of the other projects were just getting people basic training to Google. And I thought, man, we are spoiled here in the States, California especially, just being so much farther ahead at that point in time. I thought that was interesting. But for me personally, what I was really looking to do, my innovator product was called the Cardinal Innovation Center, which was that's the mascot of the one of the high schools I used to work at. And what I talk about when I do a lot of tech coaching PD, I talk about how you as a tech coach, you need to have your tech coaching vehicle. What's that evidence of you? How do you show to the world your evidence of your coaching? Because tech coaching is a very fickle thing because like it comes and goes with because funding for instructional coaches, it ebbs and flows, and usually the first one to get cut is the tech one. It's a fad for a bit, and then it goes away, but they're always having ELA and math, and the tested subjects keep their coaches. So how do you kind of need to kind of vouch for your job and show value in what you do? So that's really was on my mind. I'm like, I like this job, but how do I keep it? And how do I show to my supervisors, that this is working? And so, it all kind of came together just kind of both kind of serendipitously. I use that word a lot when we were in Chicago. But yeah, it started off just by building it was just simply building a website to curate. Here's the work that students have done based off of my coaching, and I would send out weekly updates to the website almost. But before I got into, I used to use Blogger for it, and they would send all the teachers, "Hey, you might pick something up from what we did with this one class," and it started picking up steam. And then I would house tutorials and other tips of like asynchronous PD on there for it. And it just kind of happened that one of my best friends in education, a good buddy Eddie Campos, he's in the math world. Right now, all the rage is building thinking classrooms. And he was doing that stuff years before he even read the book. He was doing the whole whiteboard walls and making your their thinking visible and vertical. And he got a grant somehow to get 360 degrees around the room. We had floor to ceiling whiteboards, and I
Nice.
he designed it. He let me help out with that stuff, and he taught math out of that for a year, and then he left, and he kind of just bequeathed it to me. I'm like, oh, this has got Innovator Project all over it. Like my Cardinal Innovation Center was going to be both the virtual and the physical space. So I would bring kids in, I would pull kids out, or teacher would bring their whole class to me, and we would co-teach in there. And so it was supposed to be this real innovative, like I guess at the time, futuristic looking classroom of what a classroom should be. Like if you read the Build a Thinking Classroom, they'll talk about defronting the classroom. We had no front of the classroom. I mean, we had flat screen TVs, two of them in there before that became all the rage during COVID. And, and just giving kids just a different look on what a traditional class, getting away from a traditional classroom. So it was that was the two-pronged approach of the Cardinal Innovation Center. And, I think I still just paid the other day my 2 more years for the domain, so I'm keeping it going. Trying to.
You should totally keep that going. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
That building thinking classrooms and Eddie Callis, that sounds absolutely brilliant. I'm so glad that's where your experience went. So understanding like you said you kind of took that classroom out of nowhere, right? And then you took it on and working with those people and getting to know people is always really sort of a brilliant aspect of the innovator space. And it sounds like you inherited that classroom from someone you were close to. So tell me a little bit more about the cohort you were from. Like every innovator cohort seems to have a personality or something quirky about it. Like what was the Sydney 2017 cohort as a group? If you can kind of describe it to us.
I think you just said the word quirky. We were very, very quirky. I think I put in the notes there. I put one name. Anybody from my cohort is gonna chuckle when they hear the name Stuart Kelly. Stuart is from New Zealand and just one of the most entertaining guys ever. Just full of just life and energy. And when we after my 15-hour flight to get there, I mean, I ran off the plane, boom, Ubered straight to this park near right there in Darling Harbor near the Google headquarters. And but the first thing before we even went in was this. It was like some kind of a Great American Race type thing where we were doing a scavenger hunt across Sydney. My wife actually went with me. Well, we were dating back then, but she was actually part of the Toronto 2016 cohort, and she had time in her schedule. Yeah, I want to go. Let's go. So we went, and then they included her, and so we got there. We were the last ones to show up, and they put my now wife, myself, and Stuart Kelly as a team, and we had our scavenger hunt all over Sydney. We're just jet lagged beyond belief. And Stuart was hell bent on winning, and man, he just like drove us all across. Let's go, come on, next one. We have to win. And we got to a point toward the end when we kind of started checking online. Yeah, we're not winning, and we're starving. And I'm like, Stuart, I love you, bro. I just met you. You're awesome, but I need to eat something. And I broke my one of my biggest rules when I travel. You never get what you can at home when you travel. You gotta try new stuff. I couldn't help myself. I went into McDonald's. I'm like, I'm starving. But you know what? I really didn't break my rule because the McDonald's in Australia are much different than those in America. I mean, we had it like a couple years ago. It was a fad, but they have the chicken Big Mac, which is pretty amazing. So I fell in love with the chicken Big Mac. I go, Stuart, I have to eat, and scarfed it down. Haul butt about 2 or 3 miles through the hills of Sydney into back to where we're supposed to meet, so we're on time. And as soon as I get in, I walk into Google headquarters. Where's my wallet?
Oh
Apparently,
no.
I had left it in the McDonald's 3 miles away in downtown Sydney.
Oh,
And
jet
so
lag.
my wife's like, "All right, I got it," and she runs in, ran right, ran straight back over there and looked all out of place. We're like, "I think this is you're looking for this. You look pretty." Yeah, they had my credit cards, my ID, everything, and on the other side of the world. But back to the thing. It was that kind of experience with Stuart. Stuart was the ringleader of a lot of our quirky adventures, and he just made it hilarious. I mean, we did one little after hours thing where we were being goofy by this casino where they have this outdoor escalator, and we all decided let's take a video of ourselves going up the wrong way, and so we're all they doing it, and Stuart halfway up face plants 3 times, almost hurt himself pretty badly. Poor guy. But he
Oh
was
my
always good fun.
goodness.
But yeah, Stewart was just a comic relief of it. And then I remember in one of our design thinking challenges when they give you a little materials and okay, in your team you got to create your this product. And I remember I believe he's Australian. Jeff Derry came up with a volcano chair, and this guy, it's actually probably not safe for work, some of the inferences, but it was hilarious, but so innovative and just hilarious and quirky. And that was the vibe of the whole thing. And again, like I said, quirky, it's not what you would expect, but I did inadvertently start a trend that has only happened at Sydney. And you can see my innovator tattoo. I figured if I'm going to fly all the way across the world, I need to get a really good souvenir. And I got the Innovator logo as a tattoo. My wife did too, because she had gone through a year before. And there's been two Sydney cohorts since, and people have gotten tattoos there. And I don't think the ones that after us in 2019 knew that we had done it. So it's just like a Sydney thing. So like I said, Sydney, we're very quirky.
Oh my goodness. All right. So if you're listening on Spotify, you definitely have to hop over to YouTube so you can check this out. Can you hold it up again? It's the light bulb, right? The Innovator light
Yeah.
bulb. I got a chance to see it in person when we met in Chicago, but I think everyone was kind of gathering around to see if it was real because it was there's been rumblings of the Innovator tattoo, but we got to see it. So, I mean, you have a physical permanent reminder of this amazing experience, but I'm wondering during your time at the academy, it seems like you had all these amazing adventures and these like just uplifting group of people and work. I'm wondering if there's like a specific instance or a specific moment that has really stuck with you and shows up like in your work today, maybe part of like either the design sprinting, the design sprints, or even just a conversation you had with another innovator.
Actually, it's the whole idea of the sprints and sparks. I do my PD that style. I said, okay, and I tell them, hey, I learned this at Innovator Academy in Sydney, X amount of years ago. It's been my favorite way to kind of structure PD, and I've done full day workshops doing that whole sprints and sparks model, and that's really probably been my greatest takeaway within my everyday work.
So you coach educators for a living,
Mhm.
and you were talking about how you still use certain ideas in your PD today, right? So based on that innovator mindset and what you had learned in that space, what influences the way you coach adults now, especially if you are an educational technology coach? We all know that there's teachers who are hesitant, they're burned out, they're overwhelmed, they don't want to be there. So, is there any connection you can make between your Google Innovator space and how you coach adults?
Yeah, like I said, the cohort because it was so heavily, lack of a better term, un-American. There was not. It was very international. It was, and their needs were so vastly different from what I was thinking of and some of my other American innovators at the time where we were. So that really gave me some perspective on just how diverse educators are everywhere. Like you can have your innovators, you can have your hesitant people and people in between, and it just really, because my idea, my project when we were ideating was already kind of up and running. I didn't really need much feedback. I mean, I got some eyes on it to even, and I did cut a lot of fat out of it. It was really bloated. But I did spend a lot of time giving other people feedback and just seeing what their needs are. That perspective has really helped me as a coach, and really knowing what pain points, really focusing on an educator's pain point, because as a teacher, there's so much going on. There's so much. I mean, a lot of times teachers have been demonized in the media, and we're looked at as scapegoats, and all the way it gets politicized, and they feel so much pressure with state testing, and we have to do so many things for these kids, and so just really focusing on what they need in that moment. Like I have my agenda. I know it's really easy in the instructional coaching world to come across as a pedagogy snob. Like I know what you're doing is not research based. It's not, but they don't know what they don't know. They have a million other things in their mind, and we have to really take those baby steps to get them to make those shifts. And you know that the Innovator Academy and just seeing the differences around the world and where education is really kind of have kind of I guess forced me to focus more on that. Okay, well, what do you need right here and right now, and let's start building toward that. And that experience actually led to my wife and I co-authoring our first book, The Complete EdTech Coach, which is the book we wish we had when we became tech coaches, because really there was nothing on tech coaching. There's still a few now, that I've read as well. But we wrote the book that we wish we had, and we have a whole section about how do you try to deal with hesitant teachers. And we started off by talking about, okay, what's that easy pain point? And it's not where you want to plant your flag forever, but you have to find those ends. And sometimes you're going to do something that you probably don't want to do. And like for example, some of my greatest tech coaching moments started because this teacher thought I was there to fix his projector. I'm like, that's not my job. I'm not IT, but you're lucky for you today. I can actually do it. That's something I can do. So I'm gonna do that. There's been another teacher where, hey, they emailed me, can you come to my room? I'm like, all right, this teacher wants me to do something. This is great. Watch my class. I need to go to the bathroom. All right. But that was my step in. And just making yourself visible. Again, not barging in, but as long as they get used to you walking in, and they know that you're not part of the admin, and that you let them know that you're not reporting back to the admin about anything. It's just a relationship between you and them. So as I start, we talk about being a walking coach. You got to spend at least 80% of your day, if possible, out of your office and in classrooms. Again, if possible, it's a goal we shoot for. And we talk about being unforgettable. So but being forgetful. So this is something that happened again. Here's my word again, serendipitously. For me, I actually have a photographic memory, but I am so absent-minded. It doesn't make any sense. So I would go to a classroom, and I would always have, usually have my laptop in one hand, my phone, my keys, my sunglasses, a coffee mug, and somehow I would just leave stuff behind, because I'm just thinking of so many things. And I started getting calls later, hey, you left this in there. So I would go back, and that return visit would lead to a coaching moment. So now I do it on purpose. I know there's that teacher I want to reach. I'll leave something behind so I can get a return visit. And so I've been rambling a bit, but it's
No, that's wonderful. And I'll definitely link your book in the podcast description. It really sounds like you found that sweet spot between being a tool pusher, right? Like try this new flashy thing that everyone's talking about on social media. And I think I like that term, the pedagogical snob,
yeah.
right? So like you've found that sweet spot in the middle where you're really focused on what the teacher's problem is at the moment and then meeting them where they are. And it sounds like you take advantage of every possible opportunity to build that trust, because that's that piece that's so hard to do, and it's also frustrating in that role when you're watching their class, so they can go to the bathroom or fixing their projector. But it's also that, like you said, I love how you framed it. It's that step in the door to start to build that trust. So I'm curious. We know a lot of innovators and people in the champions community are in very similar roles. So taking all of that you've learned, is there one specific piece of advice that you would give for any instructional coach, not just technology, to really help build that trust, that relationship.
I guess that's the word there. It's the relationship. Like you can't coach anybody without a relationship. It's the same way with students. So teacher to student, you can't teach a student unless you have some kind of relationship with them. It really all boils down to that. I know people who are just absolute savants and just experts on pedagogy and teaching strategies. But if you don't have a relationship with somebody and you come across and you don't like it as a pedagogy snob, but then you're not going to get any success there. It's really it means nothing without those relationships. And it sounds like pretty cliche, but there's a reason why it's a cliche.
I agree. Relationships are absolutely hugely important. And I think what happens is some Google innovators come into the projects, you get excited, you get really happy. You had a great story about 2017. If you hadn't found your wallet, you might still be in Sydney. But
Maybe.
if but the idea is that a lot of times you come off of that mountaintop experience, and then we hear that some of the innovator projects tend to fade away after the academy, and your work didn't. Like it evolved into a book, right? So what are some systems or habits or things that helped you keep innovating after that cohort excitement wore off? How did you keep going after that whole process was done?
You know what? I really leaned on my PLN. That's really where like I kind of got kickstarted in this job just by again being on connected with educators, like-minded educators around the world. Because when you in the when you're considered an innovative educator, you're usually pretty much on an island. You're usually that lone wolf, at a site. There's not many of you, and you need to find people, like-minded people. Like I mean, everyone I know, I believe, is doing what they think is best for kids, and I don't think people are shirking their job. But innovators, we're a little bit different and just a little quirky, and we're weird sometimes, and that's a beautiful thing. But finding those other people and just me connecting with people through my PLN, through Facebook and Twitter X, whatever we call it. I call it Twix now. Um, whatever you want to call it. That it was like I need to know that what I'm doing is making a difference. Like, yeah, I can tell. I don't get a lot of, you know, prompt feedback from a lot of the teachers that I serve, and for good reason. It's just, it's they're they're growing. But so what I need to know is what I'm doing. Is it being done other places? I remember being on multiple Twitter chats simultaneously. I mean, I remember the days of Twitter chats were great. And I
Mm-hmm.
would share my ideas and I would get responses. I say, hey, I tried this in a classroom. Here's an idea. And I would get feedback from people all over the world. And that really kind of just kept me going. Like if I knew I was getting feedback, positive feedback from people, I knew I was doing something right. Even if I got into negative feedback, I knew how to then tweak it next time I went into a classroom or I was working with a teacher. And that's really kind of what kind of sustained the work, just, having that connection with people all over the place.
Wow, your humility is really inspiring. It's that piece of like, I did this, I did the thing, and now I want feedback. I want to know, like that piece of I want to learn from my community. And it's that trust that you have when you build a really solid PLN that you feel comfortable and confident to be able to ask for help and ask for feedback. And then it seems like you just take it and run with it, which is so amazing. Your book is very the tone of your book is very reflective and not reactive. And it's about you reflecting on these experiences that you and your wife have had in these roles. And so I'm wondering, where do you see the value in the role of reflection partnered with innovation?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times people will say, you have to think outside the box. I'm like, no. Innovation comes from inside the box. You have these constraints. And how am I going to get out? How am I going to break out of here? That's where the innovation comes. And when you're stuck in that box, again, you try something, you're just you in that box. Now it's time to reflect. Okay, that didn't work. Let's try again. And try again. How am I getting out of here? How am I breaking beyond these constraints? And like those constraints again is what fuels innovation. Uh, so yeah, it's funny how that's kind of fueled the way that I work with teachers and students now with AI. It's like, is the AI allowing you to innovate? Is allowing you to think differently, think more, come up with new solutions? And that's kind of my litmus test. Is this is the kind of AI that we're that way you should be using AI? And it's I think it's resonating with teachers.
That's amazing. Just hearing all of the stuff that you guys managed to accomplish and hearing from innovators and how they've grown so much over time. I mean, you went from uh, that space of being in the classroom and being like, I had stuff on a website to being like writing books and providing PD and having the blog and everything. So, my question for you, since we do have a lot of innovators or even Google champions out there that are coaches, what are your like top three tips and tricks for EdTech coaches?
That's evolved over the years, but I'm gonna say I already, already touched upon the relationship part, but I would say you have to have that coaching vehicle. Where are you housing and curating and displaying the evidence of your work? Because powers that be need to know that you're that I mean, because what we do as a tech coach, it's not reflected in test scores. Okay, it's reflected in the kind of work that kids are doing, the learning product, the products of learning, and how can you curate that so they can see this. That would be one. Another one I would say, and this is as I've came back to an actual single school district after being years out in the consultant world. I'm gonna say right now, nothing is better right now than Notebook LM. That is absolute life for any kind of coach. I have detailed notes on every school that I support, which is over 20 right now. And then each school's note document has tabs for every teacher. So, and I'm constantly syncing that into one notebook. And when I return to a school, I just have to say, hey, give me a recap of what I did at this school. And boom, here's a recap. And I have their prep periods and their class number, their classroom numbers on there. And I can just type someone's name in, and boom, you on this date, this is what you said. Here's their prep period. Here's their number, so I know how to find them. And after 2 days, I am usually at a school site for 2 days in a row. And then, so when 2 days is up, I've updated those notes. I sync it to Notebook LM. I say, go to infographic. Give me a recap of the tech coaching that was done at this school using the school's um, mascot logo as a style, and I go, don't put any teacher names, just put their roles, and then I send that school the nice little infographic. Here's what we did for 2 days. That's been my
Wow.
favorite thing. Like that's me reflecting. That's my after 2 days, that's my reflection, and I really have that visual, and I get to look at it before I leave a school and to move on to the next one. Then I'm going to return to it. So that's really Notebook LM has been just worth its weight in gold when it comes to my workflow and just doing all the things. So that was two. I would say again, I'm gonna go back to my book. We say you need to be a walking coach. If you're in your office most of your time, you need to be out there in the natural habitat of teaching and learning. You got to be in classrooms. That's easier said than done. If you can be in there while they're teaching, that's where you're really going to see what their pain points are, see maybe the blind spots they don't really see yet, and then that can fuel your conversations and seeing like just what the dynamics of the class is. Is it a classroom management issue? Is there a couple of kids that are causing some problems that maybe you might be able to help out with? It's all the things. So you have to be in the classrooms.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And what an amazing use case for Notebook LM.
Oh yeah.
Here,
I
here.
mean, like you said, you have your photographic memory, but you're absent-minded. I'm sure that is an amazing, I can already think about how my type A brain could use it in that way. I wasn't thinking about using it for my own notes. I was really have been using it to synthesize other people's work. So that's really amazing. But before we wrap things up, I'm just curious, is there anything coming up that you want to highlight or talk about, or is there a way that people can get in touch with you if they do have questions or want to learn more about your book, your website?
Yeah, you can find all my stuff on my website, techcoachjuarez.com. I'm on social medias. I'm at techcoachjuarez on all the socials. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm not hiding. Yeah, we published our second book last summer, which is called History Matters in an AI Era. So really what that was is for, and then this one we actually self-published. The first one was through Dave Burgess Publishing. This one we self-published, which was actually a very cool experience. And our next few books we have in mind, I think we're going to go that route as well. But yeah, this book is about we researched the history standards of all 50 states because there's no common core. And that was interesting seeing the trends and
Wow.
what each state focuses on. Some are like California are very bloated, and then other states are like 3 or 4 pages. This is it. So we kind of did it by grade span. So I went K2, 3, 5, and 6, 8. And we're really targeting this book is for our your K8 multiple subject teachers. Um,
Awesome.
my favorite time was teaching middle school history. That was my favorite thing. It got phased out because they said we need to focus on ELA. So now history
Hmm.
is taught combo with your ELA teacher, and who isn't a trained history teacher. If they like it, you might get a good teacher. If they don't like it, you might do it once a week. So they just need support on how to integrate it into what they're already doing. So we came up with lesson ideas, how about you can integrate historical content using innovative technologies into your ELA instruction and even other subjects as well. So across the board, we can make sure our future generations are getting that civic instruction and knowing the history so we don't repeat the same mistakes.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this entire journey with us and for also giving us your amazing coaching tips and tricks. If you want more, make sure to check out all of those books. If there's something that you guys got an idea from or anything in this particular podcast, please let us know in the comments. So keep innovating. We'd like to hear, if you want to hear more from Adam Juarez, make sure to follow all of those socials we just talked about. If you're a past Google Innovator, and we in the general population would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your stories. If you're an aspiring innovator who wants to discuss this process, feel free to sign up for us. And thank you so much for joining us today on the unscripted version of Google Innovators. And remember to keep on innovating.